get my wires crossed. Thank you, Mario Zapata, for being here.
Thanks for
First
having me.
time, first time I had him on, he promoted something. And so it was like, oh my gosh, we have to have you on to promote something. He's like, what about my life? And I'm like, oh, didn't we already do that? No, we didn't. Fooled me. So jokes on me today. Welcome to Comic Spot, you guys. Come on in and watch this. Comic Spot is because this Army veteran vets out veterans of comedy like Mario Zapata over there in the other square. And he's wearing a shirt that says beer, bacon, and
Movies.
boobies. Beer, bacon, and the three B's. You
That's
thought
all
it was
you need,
Bach,
really.
Brahms, and Beethoven. Yeah, they thought it was Bach, Brahms, and Beethoven, but not the
Yeah.
case. Talk to us,
Food,
Mario.
water.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for the patience you have with me. Thank you so much for coming on again. Talk to me about your early life, your very beginnings in life. Where'd you grow up?
Well, let's see. I was born in Peru, and then
Wow.
we moved to the States when I was 3, which is why I talk like I do. And then let's see. We're in California most of my life growing up. My dad was a computer guy. Always, he worked for a couple of different companies, but it was always in computers. And my mom worked for the school district, and neither one of them thought that like comedy or music or any kind of the arts was like a legit. That's a fun side project. It's not a like a career path. And then eventually, they saw the determination, and they kind of accepted that like this is the path that I've taken. Like I tell dick jokes for a living, but I don't know. I was an awkward kid, I guess. I moved around a lot, so it was really weird because like I didn't really have like a sense of permanence with any of the kids that I met there. It's like I knew I was going to be moving again and making whole new friends, so it was like, I don't know. Like it's easy for me to say goodbye, I guess.
Yes. That's the
Yeah, but
same with when I raised my daughter. I think she was in 14 different schools.
oh wow,
Yeah, we moved a lot. So I think she would understand where you're coming from.
yeah. And you guys moved for the army and stuff?
No, it was after I got out of the Army. I had her when I was in the Army, and then I raised her alone. It was because of money. I kept getting
Okay.
really bad landlords, and
Oh man.
yeah. So you started in Peru, then you came to the States.
Yep.
And where all did you live growing up in the States?
Mostly California. When I joined the military, I went to a couple of different places, but it's been mostly California most of my life, and then after that was Vegas, and so and now actually I just
Thank
decided
you for your service.
well, thank you, I appreciate that, and soon I'm going to be moving to New England actually.
What?
Yeah.
What part of New England?
Haven't decided yet. Still got a couple options up in the air, but definitely going to the East Coast.
Now, are you going there mainly for the comedy scenes?
Yeah. Well, the goal is New York, but I don't make nearly enough to get started in New York making the money that I make. And so it's either, if you want to like really do something, I mean, I feel like it's either LA or New York, but I just feel like New York is more of what I'm looking for out of it. Like, I feel like on the West Coast, it's more about the image of the comic, whereas on the East Coast, it's more about the writing.
Yes.
The writing is still king on the East Coast, and that's like, I'm not cool. I'm not gonna make it in LA. I'm not gonna make it in LA, but if I work hard and write some good jokes, then I have a really good chance on the East Coast.
Yes. What are some cities that you're considering moving to? Philly?
See, I wasn't sure.
More New England.
Well, I mean, we were even thinking like Maine. I mean, like just anywhere in that area, because right now, a trip to the East Coast is like a $400 plane ticket. So I'd rather have it be $40 in gas.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Just
So,
trying to get.
so you went through your entire life like in 3 sentences, but as a child growing up, coming from what age were you when you came from Peru?
I was 3. So we first lived in Irvine, California, then Placentia, California, and then we moved to Corona, and then I was in Riverside until I mean I moved back to Orange County for a little while as a uh, rebellious 18-year-old, like screw you, mom and dad, I'm gonna go make it out on my own, and I moved back. And then I moved out again and I stayed a little bit more local. I started developing more or like building more of a life out there. And then, but I mean, I always liked performing. That was always something that I always wanted to do. But um, again, like I just never had like anybody to really push me to do it. It always felt like it was just me. And so I wrote a bunch of stuff, but then finally somebody, like I started my band. That's really what started the whole process for me. It was like 3 friends and we just vibed. It was really fun. We started to do some. We were, playing House of Blues and everything, so we were doing okay. But it was really cool to have an outlet for creativity because that's just something that I was craving. And then um, that kind of led to the stand-up comedy, which is actually great because with a band you have to worry about getting everybody on board. With being a solo performer, you just have to worry about getting you on board. So.
Yes, that's a big difference. The very first time that you went on stage, do you remember the club and the scenario? What was it
Yeah,
like?
absolutely, I do. My very first stand-up comedy show was at a drive-through barbecue shop that was open. So while we were performing, people were driving up to the drive-up window to pick up their barbecue orders, and there were 5 comics and 4 audience members.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it was a really small crowd. Um, but at this point, I had already been doing kind of like funny songs with the band, and that's all I had. I didn't have a set put together. I didn't have anything. I just had these funny songs that I had, and I thought, screw it, I'll give it a shot. And there was this Native American gentleman, big Indian dude, right? And he just wasn't laughing at anything, nothing. He was just sitting there like he was guarding, something. And I'm watching this guy the entire show, and I'm like, I have to make him laugh. I'm not even worried about the rest of the audience right now. I got to make that guy laugh. And like I said, all I had was the songs. I didn't have like setups or anything like that, so I kind of winged it. And I directed everything at him. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep sending energy in your direction until I crack a smile. And eventually he did. And after the show, everybody's leaving. There's a small crowd, so everybody pretty much left at the same time. And he said, you're the only guy that made me laugh, so I appreciate that. That was good. And then I was hooked.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
after
was your
that, I caught
first
the
time.
bug.
I saw you perform at Chonkla's a few weeks ago with
Hmm.
your guitar and your songs and your comedy. You're a class act.
Well, thank you.
I've seen a lot of musical comedians, and you're the best that I've seen.
Well, thank you. I try to mix up what it is that I do because I did about 6 minutes of regular stand up before, but jumping into the guitar, because I mean, with stand up comedy, in order to kind of get respect as a comic, you have to be able to do some speaking, so I can't just completely rely on the music to get me through every situation. Yeah, it's a nice novelty and it's a good accent to whatever it is that I'm doing, but I definitely have to make sure that I have like actual stand up if I'm going to do well in that realm.
Yes. Well, I was really impressed. I didn't want you to stop. You were so good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I did run
And
the light, and I apologize right now because I did run the light a little bit that night.
I didn't
I was
notice.
having I was having too
It,
much fun.
yeah, well, the thing is that your material and your comedy and your stage presence are a total package. I mean,
Thank you.
it's marketable. It's a hot ticket all on your own. So you could see in your comedy material, your comedy act, that there was a strong presence on stage. Had you done acting before or strictly musical? work?
Well, I will acted in a play once. I was in I was the police officer in Arsenic and Old Lace, and that was my only.
Oh,
That's my only acting credit. But to be perfectly honest with you, the presence that you're talking about is something that's kind of new for me because I got so used to playing with the guitar that we got really I got used to having noise or something going on all the time. So with um, with just the speaking, with the monology, I was almost like afraid of the silence, you know, that's actually a good thing because if the entire room is quiet, that means that everybody's listening to you. So what are you going to do with that? But that's a lot of energy coming at you at once. And so I actually had quite a few drinks before I went up that night, just to
already.
kind of mellow myself out. I'm working more on like being present in the moment because I think that's one thing that I definitely could work on.
Wow, I didn't notice that. I thought you were fabulous. I didn't
You're not
see any.
supposed to notice. Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that most comics they look cool. A lot of them look cool and calm on stage, but they're like freaking out on the inside.
Totally.
Yeah, that's me.
People say to me, "You look so relaxed." You know, I work really hard at trying to look relaxed.
Well, George Carlin actually said something that was really cool. That he said you kind of have to just divorce yourself from the outcome. So basically, it's like you know, care enough to practice so that you don't bomb, but don't worry if you do. You know, like I told jokes that I got in trouble for, um, and you know it was a risk to do it. And yeah, okay, maybe that joke needs to get needs a little bit more work or whatever, a little bit of tailoring. But at least you know you have to take those risks. You have to throw something out there, even if you think it might offend or if you think it's not good, because that's the only way you really practice it is by hearing it over and over and over and over. It's like I'm sure you have stories that you tell people, and you tell them probably the same to each person that you tell that story to, because you know you capture like the emotion of it, what you went through and everything like that. A joke's kind of the same way. You know, you have to get to that point where you've heard yourself say it enough times that you could do it without even thinking.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned doing comedy? How many years have you been doing comedy?
7 or 8,
7 or
something like
8.
that.
So in that time, what's the biggest lesson that you learned that you had no idea you were going to learn, and it was kind of painful to learn it, but you learned it?
Never assume that your life that the problem you're dealing with isn't your fault.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
because a
like
lot of
that.
times, like, well, because you know, a lot of times it's really easy to pass the buck or blame something else for something not working, and that really impedes progress because then you're going to keep doing the same thing that's holding you back over and over. So, you know, and that's kind of how it is with comedy. If you tell the same joke over exactly the same way over and over and over and over, and it doesn't get a laugh, it's not that you got a bad audience at some point. You know, it's that you're not telling the joke properly. So you have to look at the way that you're telling the joke. Um, you got to check your timing. I mean, there's so many things you got to think of, because I mean, honestly, the toughest thing about comedy is learning to act like yourself.
Yes,
You
isn't
know,
that something when you finally figure out who you are on stage and you can be authentic, you know, and people can tell that you're not putting on an act. They hate it when you're putting on an act.
right? Absolutely, and that's the you know, but there are acts that are good. Like look at Jeff Dunham. Like he's an act comic, but he's fantastic at what he does. So it
Yes.
really is just a matter of finding like your best delivery vehicle. You know, like I know one of the things when I started doing comedy, I would write the jokes the way that I wish I would tell them on stage instead of the way that I would tell them on stage.
Wow.
And sometimes it's as simple as like switching the intro, because like sometimes I'll write a joke and it'll sound really contrived, really like, hey guys, so this other night, you know. And sometimes you just change the delivery of that just a little bit to where it sounds more conversational, and all of a sudden it sounds more like you're telling the joke than you're reciting it. So
Got
that's
it.
that's one of the things that I practice, like in the mirror, you know, and because I practice my jokes on everybody that I meet. Like I try to sneak jokes in when I'm at the grocery store or whatever, you know. I just try to, if I have a joke that I think would work on a certain person, or I get a certain vibe off them, like they might think this is funny, you know, I'll work it with them and try to figure out ways to make it something that's conversational, so that when you're talking to an audience, you can at least have something to refer back to when you want to get into that mode.
I like that. So sometimes when I'm telling a joke, I'll get up there and I'll try to make it relatable, because I think the thing about me is I'm older, so they're going to make an assumption. The big white elephant in the room is that they're going to assume it's a young crowd that I'm not relatable. So I'll lead in with a joke by asking a rhetorical question, or I'll lead in softly rather than start with a delivery where they might be tuning me out. I'll get them
Well,
to tune in.
let me ask you, what is your relatable point? What is it that you use to relate to your audience?
I have different opening lines that I've, cycled in right now. My opening line is, is anybody getting any older up in here? Like I'm getting
That's
older.
funny. That's really good. That's real
And
endearing.
thank you. And like they'll laugh, and I go, "Oh, you can. This is my relatable. This is my most relatable material you're gonna ever hear me say, right? Like I'm getting.
Nice.
And also, I think I'm winning at it. I think I'm winning at getting old. And then I'll say, "Oh, the younger comics, they say they're getting older. Oh, please, you don't even know." Yeah, stuff like that. It kind of lets them relax. The old
That's
ladies
fun.
up there. Yeah, it's just fun. That's what I got lately. So, do you ever do something at the beginning just to relax people? Or do you just go in?
Um,
I always do this preamble to my comedy, and sometimes that works really well. Other times people are like, would you get to your material?
well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, usually when I'm getting ready to start a set, I'm working more on trying to calm myself down.
Totally.
But then, I mean, right now I have a joke that I use that's pretty topical because it's about everything that's going on with the pandemic, and I like it. It's like a nice icebreaker, but it's got a shelf life. You know, I'm not going to be able to use it forever. Um, Really, kind of what I try to just convey to the audience really quick is that it's okay to have a dark sense of humor, because that's really what I like to do. I like to poke fun at things. I like to pull things apart. That doesn't mean that just because I am talking crap on something that I don't like it, though. Because I always try to see things from both sides, you know. Because again, with the whole thing about sometimes your problems are your fault, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you have to analyze your stances on things. So like,
Yes.
whatever the topic may be, I may have this knee jerk reaction of like, oh no, this is how I feel about that. But then what happens if I turn back around and I'm like, why do I feel about that? What if I was arguing it from the opposite point, you know, and then try to do that comedically, so I can look at like just two people just like talking smack back and forth to each other. But when you start to disassemble stuff, sometimes it goes to a darker place, you know, because you're taking things to their like the thing about dark jokes is they're very short, you know, usually, you know, because you're reducing a situation to these really specific talking points just so you can make a quick connection. But and so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I do like I love dark humor. Like I love making fun of things, you know.
Too. I love it. I stay away from it because I don't feel like I have the comedy chops to pull it off unless it's like one line, hit it and keep running, like get off of it. Because, again, back to my age, an old lady talking dark humor, I don't know, how much of that do they want to hear? It's not, and, like I'll say something dark, but then I don't focus on it. It might be a one liner or a rhetorical question,
No,
like,
I
my
I like to
parents
make
are.
I like to make people squirm.
Yeah, that's good for you.
But
Yeah, it's
see, the
usually
thing is,
me squirming.
well, I do it. I try to do it as lightheartedly as possibly. Like I don't know. Like, I just like to make a point, I guess, sometimes, even though you should always focus more on making a joke than making a point. But every once in a while, it's just fun to be catty and to be all pithy about something, you know.
Yes.
But that's why.
Uh,
But I balance it out with the music. Like my music is all fun and happy, and be like, hey, you know, a song about butt sex, you know, and that's so I use that as like a way to balance because I feel like I have like both of those parts of my personality. I have the part of me that wants to be happy and like go lucky and let's do something, and then you know the other side of me that's like, ugh, but you're so stupid that like, you know. So I'm able to like, take both of those things and I turn them into one thing. But I always start with the dark stuff because you can't go from light to dark. You know, a different energy.
wow.
You're going to
That's,
escalate.
ooh, I like that thought. Let me ask you about your music on stage because
Okay.
I'm going to tell you how I feel, and I want to hear if it's right or you disagree. Either is
Okay.
fine. I feel just me in a bubble. I feel like there's a double standard for performance comics. So when you go up on stage and do a high percentage of act outs, like Maniscalco, Jimmy Schubert does a lot of act outs, that we really enjoy the act out or the music or the guitar or the accordion or whatever. But then we, as an audience or comics, we look at you and go, well, your comedy better be spot on then if you're going to bring that stuff on stage. We put you at a higher, we give you a higher level to achieve, and it's not fair. That's how I feel.
Well,
I've seen a lot of performance
actually,
comics that. Do you think I'm
I would
wrong?
say I would say it's actually probably the opposite. Nobody really expects you to do well, or actually, I say that back. Nobody wants you to do well when you're a musical comic because a lot of people think that it's hacky. They think that it's a crutch, that it's something that you're using to compensate for something else. Um, when the truth is, there's only one job when you get up on stage, and that's to be funny. That's it. Now there is something that musical comics deal with, and that it's really difficult to cement an identity um, because you're like a jukebox up there. You know, you're just the guitar guy or the guitar girl, whatever. You know, or the musical comic or whatever. You're not you. You know, and so that's one of the struggles that musical comics have to deal with. It's a little bit more difficult to brand yourself because they just clump you in with all the other comics. Now, as for per the standard, yeah, like actually right after that show at Chonkala's, there was a comic who I went outside to smoke, and there was a comic who was trying to like use all these like snide remarks like, oh well, I'm surprised you heard the audience over your guitar, and like, oh well, since you brought the guitar, and like, I'm like, yo, like, what kind of person shits on somebody when they for doing something good, you know?
Thank
And I
you.
get it that there's people who say, you know, it's a purist thing to do, you know, regular stand up, and I'm practicing stand up, you know, I like it too, but I don't think that anybody really, you know, anybody who's talking shit probably isn't good enough to be telling other people what comedy is.
Yes.
You know, because the people, you know, I never hear Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle or any of them say, "Oh, you brought a guitar, that's hacky." No, it's always some comic who wishes that they had something else that they can do. But there's nothing wrong with having an accent to your show.
Nothing at all. I mean, I grew up with Jack Benny and his
Hmm.
violin. I mean, he would play so little of that violin, and he had the violin with him the whole time on
But
stage.
his
I go,
his facial expressions were the best. Like he
yeah.
could say so much without a single word. Yeah, exactly. I love Jack Benny.
And the timing, the pregnant pauses making you wait for a punch.
Uh-huh.
We get up there and we're trying to get 6 laughs per minute. We're like rushing people through the laughs, and he knew timing.
Yeah, timing is everything. Timing is everything. Because sometimes one big laugh could be better than three small ones. You know,
Absolutely.
you just never know.
You never know if there's going to be a second and third wave of that laughter if you just let them sit on it for a minute, you know?
Yeah, there's been times where I've actually forgotten what joke I was going to do next. And because I stopped and I paused, it made people laugh at the joke before it. So I was like, oh, that's a good lesson to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the, like, I've gotten onto, I was in Portland's Funniest a couple of years ago, and I had like 22 predictable punchlines in 5 minutes, and then I got up on stage, and not because of nerves, just because my brain was tired from practicing for weeks. I forgot everything and had to get up there and wing an entire make up stuff on the spot. Have you ever had to just make up stuff?
All the time. All
Yeah.
the time. Oh yeah. Like a lot of, so when I, especially with the songs, maybe not so much with the written stuff because I'm a little bit still not, it's still pretty new for me. So I haven't gotten to that automatic response on that yet. But with the music, I already know the direction I'm going with. I know the misdirection that I'm using to introduce it. So if I see somebody in the audience, you know, I'll just make stuff up right then and there. I've actually changed the lyrics of songs on the spot. Um, there's a song that I have about a girl who cheated on me with her husband, and I actually asked somebody in the audience if they had been cheated on, and I just changed the names really quick, and I sang the song to them. So, I mean,
Uh,
I don't know. I feel like I improvise a lot more when I drink, but yeah, it's fun. Sometimes the funniest moments are the ones that happen that are new to you too. You know,
I
that's when I
think
have
so.
the most fun.
I think so too. Some of the funniest stuff that comes out of our mouth comes out in response to the crowd, the energy, the mood in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, what what is a goal for you? What is it that are you going to go after being a writer on a sitcom, a writer on late night? You mentioned the strong writing going into the East Coast rather than LA. So
Um.
I can see you being a writer in a, you
Well,
know,
I love what I do, and to be honest with you, I'm a terrible businessman because I would do this for free. And
totally.
so it's really difficult for me to think of things in terms of like money.
Yes.
Um, I guess really like my only goal is to be able to support myself through my art, through my creativity. You know, if it's writing for a sitcom, that sounds awesome. I'd do that. If it's doing stand-up comedy, I would love to do that. You know, I've kind of learned to go with the flow on things. You know, you can't because I've been so hard headed that I haven't seen opportunities that were right in front of me. So
Wow.
as long as everything is kind of within the same realm of what I'm trying to do, which is entertain and create, I can pretty much, you know, I got a lot of wiggle room there. I don't have any like solid concrete. I need to do this to feel like I made it. I think as long as I'm, you know, doing what I enjoy and enjoying the ride and maybe saving a little bit for the future because, you know, it can't work forever, you know, then I think that that'll be okay.
That. So what is it that's gotten you through the pandemic this far, and what do you think that all of us need to have a little bit more of to make it through the rest of it?
Unemployment.
Totally.
but
Totally. Oh my
also,
gosh.
but also keeping yourself busy. You have to stay in the mode of being busy because like I said, I'm moving. I just made plans to move to the East Coast, and um, I guess for a lot of people, I guess if I had any kind of, I don't have a message or anything, but like I would hope that people would see this as an opportunity to be free. You know, we build lives in certain places, and then we end up getting chained to those lives. Um, so now, I mean, it's like when they say in Fight Club, it's when you have nothing that you're truly free to do anything, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, now a lot of people are really having the freedom to start over wherever they want, doing whatever they want. I mean, how many people, you know, did the right thing for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden this pandemic hit and they're without a job. You know,
Exactly.
like there, it's kind of changed people's definition of what the right thing to do is when it comes to careers. But it's an opportunity to start over anywhere. If you just have, I don't want to say the guts because I don't want to talk too much shit. I know that it feels safe to stay at the same place, but sometimes you have to take risks in order to like live life. You don't want to be a lab rat.
Yes.
So like that's I guess the only thing is just keep yourself busy because you never know where life could take you. You may come up with something that tells you to get the hell out of Dodge. You may find something that makes you thrive where you are, but be open to opportunities. Like if the world is ending, there's so many job openings. You know what I mean? So I mean, just find something that you're passionate about. This would be the time to discover who you are because you have like, I don't know, at least time to think about it. You're not worrying about work and getting there on time or whatever. Just make the most out of your time. Don't just sit on the couch and be thankful that you're getting paid.
Totally. What is something that you'd like to express before we're done today that I haven't covered?
Um, just don't forget to laugh. Like life sucks. We all know that it's not easier, and the older we get, the more we realize that the rainbows and the unicorns don't exist as much. So don't lose that sense of wonder that you had when you were still able to look on the bright side of things. Don't get offended by everything. It's just words. Try to find, if you can find the humor in like dark and offensive stuff, you can find the humor in anything.
I
So
love
just
that.
don't forget to laugh.
I love that. So how long until you're going to be out on the East Coast? Because you're tripping
Um,
across the country right now as we speak.
well, right now I'm in South Dakota for Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, so I'll be here till the middle of August, and then on the way back, we're going to be going to Colorado to do a couple shows out there, and then either we'll cut right back through or go to New Mexico, depending on what we can get going. We're really just playing it by ear, like I said. This is the time to act and to do stuff, and uh, I feel like I'd be doing more harm by not acting than I would be by acting. So
I love
screw it.
that.
Let's see what happens.
You're very motivational, man. Sturgis, you're going to be with all those motorcycle dudes.
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
jealous.
it's exciting. Yeah. It's a lot of fun out here, and I love South Dakota. I love it. I love it. I don't know if I could live here. Well, maybe I could live here as long as I had a lot of work. But there's no comedy scene here. I can't. There's no way to be a stand-up comedian in South Dakota. There's like little shows here and there, but like you'd have to travel. But I just love South Dakota. People are really nice here.
So you're not doing comedy there. You're there for the motorcycle
Yeah,
thing?
I'm here for the rally. Yeah.
Wow. So what's the best thing that you like enjoying at Sturgis when you go?
I mean, there's so many things. Like there's a lot of great bands. I had my very first donut burger at
What?
Sturgis. It's like a hamburger with 2 glazed donuts as the bun. So it's incredible. You have to try it. It's a heart attack on a plate. Loved it. I had that at Sturgis. The weather right now, it's like 82 degrees right now. It is beautiful. And then all the motorcycles. I mean, lots of girls are taking their tops off. I mean, it's Sturgis.
Do you ever
So
see people having sex on a motorcycle?
I haven't seen that.
Will you
No,
take a picture if you see it for me?
you
I
you
can't help
got it.
it.
You got it. You
just
got it, girl.
I want to live vicariously through some slut.
I love it. I'll make sure to get multiple angles for you.
Thank you.
I know it'll be easier to create the image in your head. I love it.
I have visions of that. Visions.
Awesome.
So I want to tell you, thank you for your patience with me. Thank you for your life story.
No, this has been awesome. No, thanks for making it happen.
Yes, you bet. And like I said before, and I really do mean it, anytime you want to come on and plug anything, come back on and plug something.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I mean, like I said, I've got a show in South Dakota, a couple in Denver, but like not really a whole lot going on. We put the podcast on hold. but I don't know if I'm going to be doing it anymore because I'm moving away from the radio station. So we'll just see. Just look out for Mario Zapata coming out in the light somewhere.
We will. I'll put up your links again on this, and the pro version will come out in a couple days from Adam Dominguez, and then you'll get it in your inbox to share, if you will. And when you're in Denver, do you know who Chris Crazy Legs Fonseca is?
I don't.
Look him up and tell him he's the one that hooked me up with Sinbad, but I didn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
Hook him up. Hook up with him. Maybe he'll give you. He's huge in Denver. He's like the top comic in Denver.
I'll look him up for sure. Thank you for the advice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair and he's been stricken with I'm not sure what it is. So
that should make him easier to. That should make him easier to find.
He's not going anywhere too far. He's got a great sense of humor about it too.
Good. I love that. I love that.
You'll love him. You'll love him. Yeah, he's really good friends with Sinbad. Sinbad's
awesome.
Coach. So that'd be a good person for you to get to know.
Any person is a good person to know. This is a networking field.
Yes, yes. Okay, well, there's another name I had, Terry something, or Jack Burton. Anyway, I'll get the name to you. There's somebody else out in Denver that has a comedy club.
Okay, sounds like
Terry Barton Greg.
Okay.
Terry Greg Barton, something like that. I'll find it and send it to you right now.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll see you later, and thank you again.
Thanks so much for having me.
And thanks for serving the country.
Thank you too.
Yes. Bye.
All right. Bye. Have a great day.
Love you. Bye.
Everybody